This is the Unbreakable Podcast, and I am your host, Alicia Shropshire. So today we are talking about my journey with overcoming food addiction. And one thing I would like to make abundantly clear is I have lifelong experience with addiction. There's addiction on both sides of my family. My father, he, I believe, still identifies as an addict, even though he has been clean and sober for, I think it's been 2 years now. And he's done amazing, and that's totally fine. But I've formed my opinion from my life experience with my own issues with addiction. My addiction was food, as I said before, but I've been around addiction and addicts so much. This is just the opinion that I have formed because of my lived experience. So this is about me and my opinion and my belief. I'm going to make that very clear right now before anybody starts getting upset and coming for me. If this is triggering, this might not be the video for you. I know that everyone's journey is different, but I'm hoping to help inspire people to look outside of their addiction. I see so many addicts who identify as addicts, even though they haven't had a drink or done that drug or eaten that food in, however many years it's been. Personally, for me, that is not what works. I will not identify as an addict because that's not who I am. I'm not an addict by nature. I was an addict because of the circumstances that I found myself in. I have since gotten out of those circumstances and have healed myself tremendously. So you will not catch me saying I'm still a recovering addict or I am a food addict or anything like that, because that's not who I am today. So my food addiction came from being I was in a horribly abusive situation. My happiness came from food. That's all I had to look forward to, was something good to eat. And that's how bad it was. I was severely depressed. I had panic disorder. I had chronic anxiety. I also had OCD and ADHD, which perfect storm. I was a mess, and it was because I was in a very abusive situation. So since getting out of that, it's been quite a long time since I've been in that situation. And I've really worked on myself over the last, what are we in, 2026? So over the last 5 years, I've worked really, really hard to get my mindset to a place where I don't look to food as my source of joy. And that was kind of hard because just culturally, food is kind of at the epicenter of our lives. We see family we haven't seen in a long time. We go get dinner. We see friends, we go get lunch or dinner. We go on a date, we go to dinner, or we go get drinks. Everything revolves around food. And there's nothing, I don't want to say that there's anything specifically wrong with that, but I want more from life than to look forward to my next meal. I've always said for a really long time that I wanted to look at food as my source of fuel, and I'm finally there. So I just look at food so much differently than I used to. Food is not the first thing I think of when I want to do something for myself. Instead, I go shopping, or I go take a nice workout class, or I go for a walk. There's better things in my mind now than food if I want to do something for myself. I'm going to go through the steps to make this a little bit more organized and easier to follow. So my step 1 was recognizing the issue. So I learned a lot about our food here in America, and turns out it's all terrible. Everything's bad. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news if you didn't know that, but there's just so much crap in all of our food. Even the stuff that we think is healthy usually isn't. The only way to be the healthiest you can be at this point, because honestly, we're just going to do the best we can. I can't be perfect 110% of the time. If money wasn't a factor, that would be my first priority, is the most perfect, best food. But right now we're not there. So prioritizing quality whole foods was my first step. And by educating myself, I was able to change my mindset around food. I'm not going to put poison into my body anymore. I think that these For example, I would order crumble cookie all the time. I was always ordering crumble cookie. Though I'm sorry, crumble cookie is terrible for you. And let's be for real, I know that they have nutrition facts. They were not upfront with those things. I had to go and look it up and I was appalled. Did you know usually there's 1,000+ calories in one cookie and we're out here all eating a whole cookie? I was doing that. I was eating those giant cookies and sometimes I was eating multiple in a day. Of course I was overweight because I'm sitting here thinking that that's just fine to do because I was ignorant to what I was putting in my body. It was my responsibility and I failed. Where now that I know these things because I'm educated, I can make much better conscious decisions about what I'm putting into my body. So step one, educate yourself about what you're eating. And the best way I can tell you to do that is to start to read the ingredients on the back of the boxes. Honestly, what you should be doing is just shopping the perimeter of the grocery store. Stop going in for all the boxed processed stuff. You want whole fruits, vegetables, meat, eggs, dairy, cheese. Like, just stop going for the center of the store. That's where all the things start to get bad. And if there's an ingredient on the back of a box and you don't know what that is, look it up. Type in Google, what are the side effects to such and such? And have fun going down that rabbit hole. Now, my step two was I totally started following all sorts of health and wellness pages. And when I say I wasn't following just influencers, I mean, yes, there were some like fitness influencers that I was following because I liked their before and afters. They were inspiring. That's a good way to get a good mindset around what you're trying to do because then you're able to make your brain go, this is what I want. But I did follow a lot of people that gave a lot of actual like real scientific information about our food. And that is how I found the carnivore diet and started implementing more of a carnivore lifestyle. I didn't go full carnivore right when I found out about it. We definitely started eating more meat, way less processed food. There was a long period of time where the only type of carb we were eating was like rice and sourdough bread. And what I was really doing was more of a like ketogenic animal-based type situation. I knew from previous experiences with doctors and everything that a ketogenic lifestyle was going to be beneficial to help balance out my hormones because my hormones were horribly unbalanced for a long time. And I feel my best when I am in a ketogenic state. So I implemented a ketogenic animal-based lifestyle and also started moving my body so much more. And that's kind of where my dopamine hit started to come from was I felt good about what I was doing for myself. I loved what I was starting to see with my results. I was loving how I was feeling. So the need for food and like those cravings that I used to have were no longer really an issue. I began to look to exercise for my happy place. Those endorphins, once those start to hit, it's better than any cookie or meal made me feel. I love the high that I get when I've completed a hard workout. It just feels so good. Your body feels good. Your mind is so much clearer. Your body starts to function normally when you're feeding it properly and moving your body. I'm not telling you to do like a crazy hard workout. Even just walking helps change things around mentally. So eating better and moving my body more started to make my brain go, this feels good. I like this. And because I was avoiding the previous foods that I was eating, if I tried to eat them again, they don't make me feel good. So now what we've got is my brain functions differently. My brain wants a workout. My brain wants good food. My brain wants to move. My brain wants to get other things done. I prioritize a million other things before I think about a treat or indulging in a cheat meal. I don't really believe in cheat meals. If you want something, I think you should have it. But yeah, so just those 2 steps right there, my brain chemistry has started to change. Now let's talk about step 3. Because I had gone through an abusive situation, as you can imagine, I needed therapy. I did go to like real therapy, and I had to switch therapists because my first therapist was honestly garbage. She should not be practicing. Horrible person. Anyway, found a therapist that I loved, and she really got me through a lot. I want to say I was with her for about a year. And that helped so much because emotionally, I was pretty wrecked. I had a lot of issues with self-worth. I was really, I don't know if this is even like a real thing. I had a really bad issue with anxious attachment, because I have a really huge fear of abandonment. It was a big issue for me and still kind of is. It's not nearly as bad as what it is. And I can tell myself now, like, you're reverting back to old ways of thinking. That's not real. I can literally tell myself that. I can talk myself off a ledge if I am getting too anxious about something. It doesn't happen often, but on occasion it does. Anyway, going to therapy really, really helped. I know so many people are hesitant to do so. If you have the means, you should. I wish number 4 was a little less cliche sounding, but I have to tell you, sometimes the cliches are the best ways to go. And that's just repetition of all of these steps. I wasn't perfect doing this. It's been 5 years since I started learning and like changing my life around. And it's really been the last 2 that I've really gotten it dialed in. And now, like right here, right now, while I'm making this video, I want to say I'm at the height of where I've been this entire time with my journey. I feel so clear and so like focused on where I'm going and how I want to do things. And I'm so in tune with my own body. I can fully trust myself now. So don't think that this was an overnight thing. It absolutely was not. This did take a lot of time, a lot of trial and error, repetition, getting back up, dusting myself off after binging. So I don't want anyone to think that this was like a linear experience. It was very much like this, which is how, if you're trying to change your life, that's how it should look, because you have to learn. You have to figure out what works and what doesn't work. You have to figure out what sets you off, what doesn't set you off. Like, you have to figure yourself out. Like, it's a very long and involved journey with yourself, and you have to be willing to fall. You have to be willing to get yourself back up and keep going. That's the biggest thing, is getting yourself back up and keeping going. Because we all know, I don't care what your issue is, it is very rare to cold turkey fix everything at once. That's just a fact. It's not a normal situation. And there was a very long time where I was really obsessive over like my calories, my macros. I was really afraid of falling off, and that turns miserable. And I know, for me, what I know happens is when I over restrict and I am overly critical of myself, it makes me spiral down, and it's kind of hard to get out of that once that happens. So what I started doing was trusting myself. If I want to have a slice of cheesecake, for example, I will have a slice of cheesecake. And guess what? I can have a steak for dinner and be fine. If I overindulge, if I go out with friends or something like that, I'll fast the next day. But I also often make the choice to not do those things because I know I'm going to feel like crap if I do. So I make choices every single day. Sometimes they're worth it, sometimes they're not. And we just live with it. I really hope that this helps somebody and makes a little bit more sense and kind of helps break out of that like all or nothing mentality that so many people get. This, again, is my story and what I've done. I can dive deeper on any of these topics if anybody would like. But yeah, this was kind of it's a little bit condensed, I'll be real, but this is what helped me, and I really hope that it helps somebody else out there.